What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? For Texas, it's different. All right, everybody, we are back. I got a great guest tonight. Tonight's guest is a mother and a wife first, and then coaching comes in after all that. So listen, y'all, a coach will impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in an entire lifetime. I'm your host. Most people call me Coach P. My name is Michael Prejean. Welcome to the Coaches Co-op, where we are pulling back the curtain to chat with the amazing people who are shaping the world of athletics. Tonight, I'm happy to introduce to some of you and present to others the assistant basketball coach at Randall High School, former collegiate hooper who attended UL Lafayette, home of the Raging Cajuns, my hometown, Kilgore, and University of Mary Hardin Baylor, where she earned basketball and academic honors and served as a graduate assistant. She is a wife, a mom to 3. She's got babies, y'all, 1, 3, and 5 years old. So if you're watching or if you're going to be listening to this later, I want you to go ahead and put your hands together for Coach Taylor Rambo. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, Coach. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Of course. So, Coach, before we get started, are you a WNBA fan?
I am a WNBA fan. But if before you ask me about what team I'm going for, I don't go for teams. I'm like that with the NBA collegiate. I have a hard time just going for teams. Like I like watching true athletes just play, see how they compete. So I'm more of kind of watch it all, but it's hard for me to just watch it and enjoy it because I'm constantly like writing notes down and plays. And I'm like, oh, I like that one. So it's hard for me to do that.
Okay. So right now, who's the player that you've had the most interest in watching?
I feel like this is kind of like the typical answer, but A'ja Wilson, like some of the stuff she's done. And honestly, Angel Reese, I have a hard time with her sometimes, but I can't deny the fact of what she's actually accomplishing. I don't know if you saw like A'ja Wilson and the, record she just set of the most, I think it was a double-doubles in a row. And then Angel Reese set it for the rookie of the year for the most double-doubles in a row as a rookie. You just can't really deny what they're doing. A'ja Wilson just signed like a major Nike deal, things like that you haven't seen in women's basketball. So I have a lot of respect for it.
Listen, the league it's outstanding. So I've been watching since like the league pass was like real cheap.
Yeah.
And it was cheap and almost all the games would be blacked out. Right. So I hated that. Okay, you're not a team person. So so do you think A'ja Wilson wins MVP this year?
I think if she continues to go the way she's going, I know she's also on the Olympic team, so we'll see how she does there too. But I can't imagine that she's gonna, change the way she's playing. Honestly, I think she's gonna make her better. She's competing against other different types of players while she's in the Olympics too. So I only see that growing her. But I think she definitely has the potential to maintain that. So we'll see. At least I hope so. Like I said, I enjoy watching her play. She just plays with like tenacity. You can tell she plays hard. Like she's passionate about it. So I respect her for that for sure.
So my son actually got me tickets to the Dallas. It's in Dallas, of course, because that's the team that's closest to us. But it was one of my Father's Day gifts. So on the 13th, I'm going to see the Wings and whoever it is that they play.
Nice, nice.
But the last time I went, I got to see Asia Wilson play in person, right, in Dallas. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. I think the thing, of course she can play. I think the thing that impresses me more than anything is her level of conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she is, oh my goodness, that young lady is in shape. Okay, coach. So you were a hooper.
I was.
Did you have dreams? Did you have hoop dreams of playing pro ball one day when you were younger?
Never in the WNBA. And the reason why, I always had this overseas. I always knew I wanted to play overseas. I actually had the opportunity, but I didn't take it. I didn't go. But for me, it was more, I knew that WNBA players didn't make as much money for sure at the time. There weren't like the level of endorsements and things that they have now. And I just decided it wasn't for me. Like I didn't want to put in, I guess, that much time to then make barely. I probably make more now than what they made back then, you know. And if you look at even like Caitlin Clark's like initial contract, like is really not, I mean, I know she makes up for it in endorsements, but if you're not that top player, it's not, the money's not there. So it was never WNBA, but for me, it was for sure overseas.
Okay, yeah, Caitlin Clark, she's on that teacher salary.
Yeah.
She's getting that TRS.
Yeah.
She's got, listen, Caitlin Clark, you got to get your top 5 up, okay? You got to get those top 5 years up so you can retire well. So you started hooping at the age of 5. Okay. Who put the ball in your hand? I know mom and dad were both coaches, but who put the ball in your hand?
My dad, actually. My mom was a track person. She's now a head basketball coach and has been for over 25 years. But my dad was the one who introduced me to basketball first. And really he kind of groomed that at the start when I was younger.
Okay. So did you play year round? What were you like as a hooper? Come on, don't be so. Here is the opportunity. So we're going to talk about you as a player first, okay? And here's the opportunity to, to talk a little bit. Tell us about Taylor the hooper, and then after we do this, we're gonna do something that we call talk that talk, okay? But first, tell us what Taylor was like as a hooper.
All right, I'm gonna try to boost myself. This is hard for me, but so I started playing when I was 5. I played year round. I didn't start playing year round until I was in 4th grade, though. I played like upward. The problem with upward was I would average like 50 points, and I would get so mad because they used to give you those participation stickers. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, give me the MVP of the game every time.
That's right.
And my dad was finally like, hey, we got to get you out of upward. Like this ain't working. So I played Little Dribblers for a while. We won a few championships that they call championships in Little Dribblers. And then after that, I started playing year round, starting in 4th grade. And then I got to middle school and high school, and I played multiple sports. So I played volleyball, basketball. I ran track. I was a cheerleader for a few years, but I played basketball the entire time. But I knew basketball was pretty much where I was going. It was the goal. I always knew that's where I wanted, how I had to get into college, because my parents are divorced, but they couldn't put me through college. They're teachers and coaches. I can't put my 3 kids through college right now. So anybody watching who's a coach teacher knows that salary is not getting anybody through college. But so I knew that was pretty much my way out. So after that, my junior year, I received several offers that summer, but I chose and committed to Lafayette and signed with them early my senior year in the fall. I chose them because they were the only ones offering myself and my 2 sisters. So I have 2 sisters. They're twins. They're a year younger than me. And we were always together. And I felt like it was kind of my responsibility to look after them. And so as soon as they offered that, I was like, I'm done. That's it. That's all I needed.
Who was the coach at the time?
It was Coach Rogers.
Errol Rogers.
Yes. And so actually, when I got to Lafayette, I decided to leave. My mom got cancer. And then there were some change ups with the coaches. And so I made the decision to ask for a release because, at the time you couldn't go D1 to D1. So I was like, oh man, now I got to, drop down. And I wasn't sure where I was going, but I knew I needed to come back home. And so came back home, went to Kilgore for a year, got a phone call from my sister and said, hey, UMHB wants you to come. I'm going. They want you to come with us. They're bringing both of the twins. Will you come? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't have to pay for school. That's at D3. Like, and she's like, nah, we'll figure it out. Like, come on. So I said, all right, that's all I needed. And so as soon as my sister called me, because like I said, we're pretty ride or die for each other. And I decided at that point, it wasn't so much about the division that I played at. I just wanted to be somewhere where I could play with my sisters because that's a unique opportunity. But also, I just wanted to get an education. So I decided to go to UMHB for the last 3 years of my college career. And I graduated there and got my master's there, was a graduate assistant there. So it wound up, I loved it.
Okay, so that was very nice, a very nice and very humble story. Okay. Before we get to talk, I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
So, where'd you go to high school?
I went to 3 high schools. I went to Oakwood, and then I went to Bryan Rudder, and then I went to A&M Consolidated.
Okay. So, 3 Division I ball players in the same household.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Were y'all kicking butt and taking names? Just tell the truth. Tell the truth.
We were. It was hard to beat us, and then we had some nice teammates too, like who could go. So we were pretty successful. We got knocked out earlier than what people thought. I think so. We went to regional finals that year. I actually made the All-State team. Following year, we went 4 rounds deep. I made the All-State team that year, and then my senior year, we went 3 rounds deep. So.
Okay, that's what I wanted people to hear. I needed people to know that, listen, you're coaching now, but you were a hooper.
Yeah.
I need people to know that you were a hooper. Not only were you a hooper, but your sisters as well. All right, so you and sisters, y'all are in the front yard, backyard, wherever the hoop is. Y'all are playing a game of 21.
Backyard on the grass in the country.
Who's winning?
Oh, me every time.
That's what I'm talking about.
We used to get in fights. It was real out there. It was like, hey, we're not blood right now. Like, this is competition.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so listen, we have Coach Taylor Rambo here on the Coaches Co-op. We're gonna have some great conversation tonight. So we're gonna do something that we call Talk That Talk. But before we get there, Coach, if any other coaches want to follow you, if anybody wants to find you, where can they find you?
Mainly on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, I don't get on as much, but you can find me under my maiden name, Taylor Tucker or Taylor Rambo. And then I'm not really on TikTok as much, but I do have one. So they're all under Taylor Rambo. You should be able to find me on there.
Okay. So that's your Twitter right there, right?
Yes.
Let me switch us so they know that I'm not Taylor D. Rambo.
Yeah.
All right. So that's her Twitter right there. If you want to follow her on Instagram, she's got that little nickname going right here. Tay Rambo.
All the Taylor Rambos. I'm like, how many Rambos are there in the world? Why do we have so many people with the same Instagram?
Right. All right. And then if you want to catch her on Instagram, there you go, right there, Tay Rambo. All right. So this segment right here, Coach, is called Talk That Talk. So what we're going to do here is give you an opportunity to talk about all of the good things that are going on in your program, in your building, at your school, and in your community. The reason we have this segment is I got to give a shout out to the executive athletic director in HISD, Andre Walker. Was having a conversation with him earlier in the month. And he said, the one thing we don't do enough as coaches is brag on our programs. People need to know the good things that are happening, not only in our programs, but in our buildings and community. So Coach Taylor Rambo, here is your opportunity to talk that talk. Go for it.
Yeah, so this will actually be my first year at Randall. But that being said, I knew I was coming to Randall before, but they made the state run, so I can't take credit for it. But they made a state run last year, first year. They've only been open for 4 years, and this was their second year in the playoffs. And but I got the opportunity because I tried to go to the games, watch them as much as I could when we weren't playing. But even though I knew I was coming, and I still was extremely excited for him, because it wasn't one of those situations where like, man, I wish they would have waited till I got there, with that anticipation. I was like, man, I'm their number one fan. Like, let's get it. This is awesome for the girls. Coach Westbrooks has done a great job with those kids. And you just watch her interact with her kids, and, she has that relationship with them. Like, she's really tried to immerse herself in a way that the kids can connect with her, but at the same time where she can push them, and she really knows what they need from her. And so it's honestly just been a lot of fun to watch their success and see what she's done with that program. And I'm just extremely excited to be a part of it. And I hope I can continue to help make it better. But man, what she's done over there is it's crazy. To go to make a state run in 4 years. Like, that's not real common. And so I'm excited about that. And I think too, with the new UIL rules and splitting divisions, I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be to our advantage. And so I can't wait to see what this season is going to look like.
Yeah, I think the split divisions will definitely be interesting. So do you know if you guys are going to fall in big school, small school?
I think small school, if it goes the way that we're expecting it to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see, because we are still fairly new. We just had our first graduating class this past year. So we're still fairly new. So we'll likely go small division.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. I do believe that it will give a more equitable playing field.
Yes.
Because I'm not sure what the numbers are in 5A, but I know in 6A, the cutoff's like 2,200, something like that. So you have schools with 2,200 kids, and then you have schools with 5,000 kids.
Yes.
So I think it's going to give us a much more equitable playing field with the new split. Absolutely. All right, Coach. So you were a hooper, all state, made runs, played D1 ball. Mom and dad were both coaches. So when did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
After I graduated college. I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. That was my major, was exercise science. And then I did an internship as well at University of North Texas. And I think that as soon as I did that internship, that's when I realized, I probably don't want to do this. I could take what I've learned with strength and conditioning and apply that to basketball. And then I started to realize, man, I miss, even in that short summer, I was like, man, I miss basketball, because I couldn't coach it because I was there at 4 a.m. and I was there until 5 p.m. that day. So I was there all day, 4 days a week. And so I just got to the point where I was like, man, I miss coaching basketball. I miss being a part of it. And so I decided that's what I was going to do. So, because I coached basketball for a year and was a grad assistant. And then it was in between that summer when I did the UNT internship, and I decided to go ahead and move forward with coaching and teaching. But it's not what I wanted to do at first. I was like, man, I see the grind of my parents. I see, there were times they weren't at home, not by choice, but it's just kind of how it goes with the schedule. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And it turns out, I think God had a different plan for me. He's like, you thought, but this is your trajectory too. So
yeah, that's good. So I'm wondering, so I'm not a mother, obviously. But as a father, all I ever wanted to do was coach, right? It's all I ever wanted to do. But I waited a little while, right? I knew I wanted to do it, kind of did some other things first, was a little bit unsure about exactly what I wanted to do. But when I finally got into coaching, my boys they're adults now. but they were like maybe 8 and 9 years old, maybe 9, 10 years old, somewhere around there. And it was hard for me as
Mhm.
dad, right? So what is it like coaching and being the mother of a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old? And not only are you a coach, but your husband's a coach as well.
Yeah.
So what is it like? I'm just wondering, what is it like in the morning? Everybody,
Oh
we're up in the
man.
morning and it's time to get up and get ready. What is that like?
We have to do everything the night before because waking up the morning of, you have to like give some space for somebody to have to do something out of the ordinary or the plan, or somebody has to go to the potty as soon as you put them in the car. It's a whole thing. So you got to have about a 20-minute buffer in there. But I mean, my husband and I were at 2 different districts this past year, and and on 2 different schedules. So it just, I mean, if I'm being fully honest, this past year was probably the hardest year of my career. But every time that I thought about, man, is this what I need to keep doing? Is this what's right for my family? I just kept going back to, I got out of it for 3 years and I came back to it because I missed it. And it truly is something I enjoy and love doing. I truly do feel like it's a calling. And so I just decided we're going to have to figure this out. So I'm going to Randall, and that's where he is as well. So that'll help us a lot. But man, it's hard. But at the same time, I'm so grateful because even we're both doing strength and conditioning this summer, and all 3 of our kids are up there with us. And it's crazy because you've got a 1-year-old. I'm trying to keep him from eating turf beads because he's out there with us. The 3-year-old's out there picking up weights. I'm like, good Lord, like, it's a lot. And so, but it's just cool to see too. I got out of coaching for 3 years after I got pregnant because I was so afraid that I was going to miss time with my kids and I wouldn't see them. But every time this summer that I've gone up there, I'm like, man, my kids get to be a part of this because I work at a place that allows, Coach Randall's, he's awesome. Like, he supports you having your kids with you. As long as you do your job, he's all for it. Like, he's the one like, oh, well, I want to go see Coach Randall because he has candy for me. Like, that's what he does, So I'm grateful to work at a place like that allows us to have that opportunity to have our kids up there. But it's also cool because you see other coaches grabbing the kids, rallying around us and helping us. And I think that's why it's so important to have a coaching community around you too, because I mean, without question, they're like, hey, I got him, coach. Like, you keep going. I got Ace, that's my 1-year-old. They're like, I got her. Like, they cover us. And so it's really hard, and this year, especially because we lost a lot of help that we had previously, but man, the amount of people that have rallied around us and helped us through this, like, it's just really cool. Like, now my kids get to be up there. They're immersed in that culture. And I want them one day to see, like, this is what coaches and teachers have to do to try to help y'all to be successful and to support y'all and to love on y'all. And it's cool that my kids get a first look at that. And so I'm excited about it, but I'd be lying if I said every time I'm like crawling into bed at the end of the night, like, I'm not going to make it to the next morning. Like, I hope I get up. We have a dog now. I'm like, what are we doing over here?
Yeah. So you said something that just about every coach that I've spoken to has said, and it's the calling. Mm-hmm. It's the calling. So when I look at our profession and I look at the shortage, when I look at the teaching profession, and I look at the shortage, I wonder if there are people who are not answering the call.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's scary too. I mean, especially all the opportunities that people have now to make money, virtually. They make more than we do. They don't have to work the same hours. And I'm not saying that they're taking the easy way out, but I'm saying it is a scary step. Like, it was a scary step for me to get back into it. But when I took those 3 years off, I was like, man, I feel like a part of me is missing. Like, I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it just took a lot of, honestly, faith and a lot of just, people around me supporting me to get back into it. And it's probably the best decision I've made, in the last several years. It's a major decision, but I'm so glad I did because, man, I love working with these kids. They make it worth it. And you do have those hard kids, but even those are, those kind of kids too. I'm like, man, I want to bring out of you the potential that I feel like you have. And so I just hope that people will begin to come to our profession or come back to it, because we need people in the profession who can love on kids and really invest in them.
We do. We need more people. And but we also, so you mentioned the coaching community, right? So as you were talking about Randall, I'm like, oh, that man, she's talking that talk. You're mentioning all the good things about the Randall community. And that's what we need as coaches. We need that coaching community. We need to make sure as coaches that, we don't put ourselves in silos or isolate ourselves. We have to lean on each other.
Yeah.
Okay, Coach, what makes you, or what makes because I already know you are, right? What makes a great assistant coach? What makes you a great assistant coach?
I've had to learn this in the last several years. When I first started out, I would say I wasn't a good assistant coach. And I wish there were things I could go back and do. I think we all kind of get to that place. And I do want to be a head coach, but I also believe in God's timing. And right now, what my family needs from me, I think I have probably another few years. And so for me, it's trying to be the assistant that I would want to have, that I will want to have. Also, my dad actually said this to me. He was like, the greatest attribute that assistant coach needs to have is loyalty. And I was like, man, like that's hard, because you want to be loyal, but I'm not willing to like give up my values and morals in a sense. But at the same time, I know loyalty is important because it's not my program. And so I got to be able to, give my input and trust that I've put in the time to give advice to the head coaches, things that I might see. But at the same time, if they look at me and they're like, that's not what we're doing. It's my job to step out on the floor and coach whatever they want me to coach to my best ability. And the kids need to know, like, we're a team, we're on the same page. And so I just feel like if you get to a place where you can't be loyal as an assistant coach, it's time to go. And not to say that you're not a loyal person, but there are situations and circumstances where you're like, hey, I can't, like, I really cannot get behind that. And for me, that's when I'm like, all right, maybe it's time for me to look up, not to say that, somebody's not good at what they do or whatever. And not even necessarily talking about schematics, but I just think as a assistant coach, you got to be loyal, and not necessarily loyal to a fault, but I think that's what our head coaches need, because at the same time, like, you got to think about all the things that head coaches are managing and all the things that they're trying to balance. And it's our job to help make their job easier, and work as a team. And so I would say that's kind of the biggest thing for me, at least. And I think that was great advice from my dad, even though it was hard to process at first. I was like, he's right. Like, that's how, I mean, I know for me in life, in my relationships, loyalty is number one. Like, I got to be loyal to you. You have to be loyal to me. And that's how I build trust. I develop trust in you, and how I feel like people develop trust in me is by the amount of loyalty that we have in a relationship. And I think it's the exact same with coaches.
Now that's 1000% it. As an assistant, you will not always agree with the head coach, right? So me speaking as a head coach, I don't want my assistants to agree with me 100% of the time. I don't want to work with yes people. I want to work with people who are going to help me grow. And I hope most head coaches are like this. You want to work with people who are going to help you continue to grow. 8 times out of 10, you're probably going to agree, right? The other 2 times you may not agree, but we have to trust that our head coaches are doing what's best for the team, what's best for the program, what's best for the moment. And then that, you hit the nail on the head. That's how you build that relationship. Be loyal to each other. All right. No blind loyalty. Don't be walking blind and just do whatever your head coach says. And, you end up walking into a wall,
Exactly.
Have integrity.
Yeah.
Have integrity with everything that you do. All right, let me do my little commercial here, Coach Rambo. All right, listen. Before we keep moving on in this episode, listen, I need you to go ahead and like. That's the thumbs up button, right? Subscribe, sign up for notifications. That's if you're watching on YouTube. If you're going to listen to this podcast, if you're going to listen on Apple, go to iTunes, give us that 5 stars. Truly, truly appreciate it. If you're going to watch maybe on Twitch, hey, pop in with us there. We're new to Twitch. If you're going to listen or watch on Spotify, same thing on Spotify. Then I need you to tell a friend to tell a friend, because what we're doing here is we're pulling the curtain back so that y'all can see these amazing coaches who are doing amazing things with the athletes and in the world of athletics. All right, Coach Rambo. Mount Rushmore. Let's talk about your Mount Rushmore of coaches. You got some good stuff here. All right, so let's start here. All right, let's start with your best coach.
Oh man, I didn't know you were gonna do this one to me. I'm going honestly, like there's some legends, but I'm going Nate Oat. Because I think just if you listen to his like post-game interviews, if you listen to how he develops his program, man, that guy is so intelligent. And he started off as a high school coach, and has developed a program like Alabama to be what they've been. Man, I think he's probably number 1 on my list.
Okay. Nate Oates. Were you ever coached by your mom? I know you mentioned your mom was a coach. How was that?
It was a hard dynamic. The first 2 years, she's my head coach. Then she stepped down to be an assistant coach so we could, kind of be coached by other people. It was hard at first. She was the hardest on me. There were times after the game, like she would scream at me in my face, and I'm like, man, like, you have to be like, this is my coach, not mom. And afterward, I'd be like, Mom, like, what'd I do? Like, can you tell, she'd come back and be like, man, I'm so sorry. I yelled at you like the way that I did, because she'd go look at the stats, whatever that looked like. But for her, what she explained to me is I got a lot of playing time. I was the leading scorer, leading rebounder, things like that. But I was in the gym all the time. I was playing in somebody's pickup game. I was up there shooting. So I put in the work. But for her, she felt this tension of I don't want people to feel like I'm playing favorites because you're my daughter. And even though you've earned it, I still have to make sure that they know I'm the hardest on you. And I can't imagine, I hope to coach my kids one day, my girls. I've refused to coach them until they get to high school. But I'm like, man, that has to be a hard dynamic to manage for her, for sure. And for me, at times when we went home, it was kind of rocky in terms of the relationship. But now, man, I love my mom. She's, I love what she's accomplished and all that she's, done. So I have respect for her too.
Yeah, I actually met your mother before I met you.
Yeah, you did.
So on that same wavelength, what are your thoughts on Bronny being drafted by the Lakers?
Oh, I think they did it for LeBron, for sure. But I think it's cool. It's hard. It's definitely unique. I think it's going to be a hard dynamic for sure, especially because his dad is who he is. But I think it's a really cool opportunity. It's just how many people get to say that, you know what I mean? Like how many people get to say they played the same thing. Like I feel so honored. Like how many people get to say they played with their sisters? How many people get to say they were coached by their mom? Like it's just a cool experience. I'm interested to see the dynamic, but I think it'll be cool either way, to observe something like that. And I think it's cool for the game. You have all these kids who are working, whose parents, either are coaching them in AAU or something like that. And I know it's not the same of playing with them, but they just get to see like how this can be a family, like a way for their families to connect. And that's important for me, just with my husband not being coaches. So I'm excited about it. It'll be cool.
Okay. Good stuff. So I'm looking at your questionnaire here. So you already talked about Nate Oates, Gino Auriemma,
yes,
Coach
absolutely.
K. And then there's a name on here that some people may not recognize. I recognize it probably because I'm just a junkie. TJ Rosine.
Yes.
Talk about why you have TJ Rosine on your Mount Rushmore of coaches.
Okay, so TJ is a D2 coach at Emmanuel College, but he also does a lot of stuff with PGC. And so I am a PGC junkie. I like to go to their camps. I listen to their podcasts, just different things. I have respect for him because you can just hear one how passionate he is about the game, but how willing he is to share his knowledge with other coaches and the success that he's had even at the D2 level. The way he's continuously evaluating himself, like he talks about it, if you listen to his podcast and things like that, he's talking about what can I do better? What's my job, my role in this in terms of making kids better, and just the way he thinks through the game, like it really challenges me to rethink it. And so he might not be like a big name or, he might not have all the accolades in the world, but I definitely think he's someone who's changing the game, and he's helping other coaches around, the world change the game through PGC. And so I think that's cool. I think if I could choose two people to work for, it'd be Nate Oates and for sure TJ Rosine, because I just want to soak up all the knowledge that they have.
Okay, I have a podcast for you. If you haven't listened already, it's the basketball podcast with Chris Oliver.
Okay.
I think you'll love that one, because I can tell that you are a hoop head.
Yes,
so I think you'll love that, the basketball podcast.
I'm gonna go subscribe today. I'm gonna subscribe to the Coaches Co-op. I'm like, I need all the information I can get. That's why I said it's hard for me to watch basketball, because I'm constantly taking notes. I'm that person.
Yeah, I drove up to TGCA. I hadn't been to TGCA in years, shamefully. But when I looked at the list of who was coming, Mike Neighbors was going. And I love Mike Neighbors. So I was like, you know what? I'm going up there so I can see Mike Neighbors. So I got to see Krista Gerlich. Somehow I missed her at TABC this year, but I got to see her. She was really good. And then Mike Neighbors. And he didn't talk about basketball at all.
Yeah.
Right. He talked about all of this other stuff. He talked about time management for coaches. It was excellent. It was outstanding. It was absolutely outstanding. All right, Coach. So I'm assuming that you're probably the strength and conditioning organizer, or you're going to be the strength and conditioning organizer for basketball at Randall, right?
Yes, and I'm currently doing it for the summer for the girls' side too. So that's been real fun.
Okay, so let me just pick your brain here. I love the weight room. I absolutely love the weight room. I love doing different things. I don't know if I have the right terminology or not, but I tell our kids, like, hey, what we're doing is functional strength. So when you're in the weight room, if you had to pick 4 exercises, like, listen, from August to May, when y'all go to the weight room, you only got time to do 4 lifts. What 4 lifts are you doing?
We're doing, for sure, squat racks to explosion. So most of the times, or rack squats. So you get deep on your rack squat. Yep. So your bar is touching the racks. And then as soon as you stand up, we're going on our toes every time. So we're doing some kind of explosion, whether it's a jump with lighter weight or it's up into a calf raise.
Wait. Let me get my pencil and paper. Wait. Rack squats to explosion.
Yeah, some kind of explosion, and working on either into a calf raise. So it's slow and control down, and we're exploding up. So we're going quick up. We're trying to move the bar fast. So we're for sure doing those. And I like rack squats because it gives the girls, like, they have a measurement of how deep they should be getting and things like that, because I don't want them to go too deep either. And so that's for sure one of them. The other one is we're doing.
Wait. I'm sorry. So, I mean, this is for me. If somebody listens and watches and they get some good stuff out of this as well. So are you doing a back squat or a front squat?
We're doing back squat on these. I've seen it with front squat, mainly with boys. I do a lot of front squat stuff too. But with this one specifically, I have the girls do back squat, especially when we're doing any kind of explosion in that sense.
Okay. Second part of this question. Do you max out on back squats?
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I have a max out on back squats for sure. I mean, we max out on all of our core lifts. The other thing we're doing is RDLs. And the main reason why is because, especially with girls, like just the way our bodies are built, I really need them to make sure they're working their hamstrings. But it's the same thing. We're going slow and controlled down. and we're pulling bar fast up, getting our hips through. So just working on moving the bar fast, keeping it tight to our bodies. So we're for sure doing that. This might come as a surprise. We're always doing some kind of hip mobility, shoulder, ankle mobility, and every single lift I have, it's always mobility for those three, just because of injury prevention. And I feel like the smaller muscles that a lot of times get ignored is what causes those injuries. So I'm for sure adding that in. And then we're doing bench. I mean, those are the easy ones, but it's the same thing. Slow and control down, you're exploding the bar up. So, and I have a lot of other stuff that I like to do. We're always going to do those main core lifts though, but I always have auxiliary lifts worked in. So my kids are going to do some core lifts, auxiliary lifts. We're always doing some kind of core in terms of like abs, things like that. So, because it's the same thing. So within that mobility section so we always have shoulder, ankle, hip mobility, and then some kind of agility. And that's the warm up. And then we have some kind of core, because I'm trying to make sure that their cores are strong. So I can make sure that, again, it just goes back to everything we do is through our core. And so I want to make sure it's strong and stable and things like that. Helps with injury prevention. And then we're going into anytime I can move the bar fast, anytime we can do that, we're doing it. We're doing deadlifts. I don't really shy away from that with girls. It's hard for me to pick 4 though, because I want to make sure we're getting all those in. So we're always going to go with some kind of bench, incline, squat, deadlift. And then, like I said, in any of those mobility aspects.
That's good. So when you're doing these lifts, so let's say we're doing, your rack squat to explosion. Are your kids grouped by max? And then are they doing a certain percentage on their rack squat?
I group them by height. I know a lot of people group them by their maxes, but for me, the safety aspect of being able to, like our spotters and things like that, lifting it out of the arms, you can move the weight easily, but I group my kids by height. And there's always a lifter on core, always a spotter, and then we all do our auxiliary lifts together, but we're all moving at the same time. So first lifter, first set, staying together as a team. So yeah, I go by height.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I never would have thought of that. That's good. Coach Taylor Rambo, assistant coach at Randall High School. Listen, she's a hoop head, y'all. You wouldn't know it if you just looked at, assistant coach. No, y'all, I'm telling you, this lady is going to be an outstanding head coach.
I appreciate
She's going to walk. She's going to, what they say, 18 inches. Listen, coach, you're going to move that 18 inches and it's going to be seamless. It's going to be a seamless transition.
I appreciate that.
Because just listening to you, I hear the detail. Excuse me. I hear the detail, the attention to detail, the detail orientation. As I read through your questionnaire, I'm like, okay, yes. And as a head coach, it's usually about the details, right? Yeah. The coaching stuff most of the time is like, that's like the easiest part of the job, but it's the other things, that not everybody gets to see us do, that they don't know about. All right, coach, check this out. I do. I want to ask you this question. Do you lose sleep during the season?
Absolutely. I do. I think they're doing too much. I think, and I know a lot of head coaches do that, but I think it's my job too, as an assistant coach, I'm constantly, even at the freshman level. So this past year at the freshman level, my team went 29-0, which, I mean, I know it's freshman, but to me,
talk.
Listen, it wasn't. I tell them all the time, I was like, it's not me. It was our kids, like the way that they worked. But even for a freshman game, I was like constantly playing through it. And then varsity, I'm like, man, what should I have suggested? What should I have done better? How should I have supported our head coach better? How should I have supported the girls better? What do I, and just, I'm constantly looking at our kids too and trying to evaluate them in the middle of a game and see what they need from us and, how to help them stay in the game. And so I just can't sleep because I'm thinking through it. Constantly evaluating myself and seeing what I need to do next or what I need to bring to the table tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. That's, honestly, that's most of us as coaches, constantly, what can we do better? What do we need to do tomorrow? Oh, I forgot to check grades. I need to check grades tomorrow. Oh, I need to check tardies,
Yeah.
just all of those different things, all of those different things. All right, coach, what is the easiest thing about the job that nobody knows?
I think for me, the relationship. It's a I think we were created and designed to be relationship beings. And I feel like every time we try or I try to venture away from that, I don't feel like myself. So I feel like we were designed to be in relationship with other people. And so I think it comes easy to me because I'm so intrigued. I want to get to know the kids outside of who they are as basketball players. Something that I did with like my personal team. So I had JV for a year at freshman. I've coached those two levels as well. So I did like what I call a 10-minute round table basically. So I sat one-on-one every week with somebody on my team. The following week, I changed it up and I just got to know them. And the rule was we cannot talk about basketball because I wanted to get to know, like, what are your interests outside of basketball? Who are you? What do you desire to be? What's your goals outside of basketball? Because I want to invest in them. And so for me, like that honestly is the easiest part. And I just love getting to hang around kids. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? Because we want to help kids. We want to get to know them. And the best way to help them is to know who they are, where they come from, things like that. So that's the easiest to me.
Okay. Before I ask the next question, somebody put a comment. Question for the coaches: do you feel pressure to make sure a player with an NIL deal gets playing time? Well, this is from GZDR for F.
They're coming in with some heavy questions.
Right. Fortunately, in Texas, there is no NIL right now. Mm-hmm. So that is, man, woo. I'm going to be honest with you. On the high school level, I want no part of NIL.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
I want no part of it. Mm-hmm. I want absolutely no part of it. We have enough to manage.
Yes.
Without having to worry about NIL. Okay. Mm-hmm. Good question. Thank you for the question. All right. Hardest thing about coaching that nobody knows.
I think sometimes I had a different answer for this, but as I've continued to think about it, I think the biggest thing is like the work-life balance. Because so many of us are like, man, I'm going to be better about it. And then we get into the next season and we're losing sleep and we're missing out on things. And, I think that's the hardest part to manage. And probably too, because of the stage of life I'm in with my kids and my husband being a coach and things like that and the age that they're in. But I think it's hard because the reality is like I give 100% on both sides of my life. Like I'm all in with my family. I'm all in and it comes at a cost of me most times. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm willing to sacrifice myself, right? Like for whatever's better for the rest of like my family and for the kids at school. But I think that's hard to balance because at the end of the day, you want to be great at both. It's just trying to figure out how to manage that. So I would definitely say that's one of the hardest things. I honestly would also say it's getting to a point, the parents, and I might get some heavy, some heat for this, but sometimes it's hard to manage the parents because, you want to build your program, but it's so many ways for people to give their input now. It's different than even when I played. And so I think that's honestly becoming harder too.
It is. My advice that nobody asked for is communicate everything incredibly clearly. Mm-hmm. Be a great communicator. Because there are two things that I've learned with parents for the most part. And it's that they want the team to win and they want the team to win because of their baby.
Yeah.
A lot of parents just want their kids to play. Some parents don't care if you win or lose. Some of them, right? Some of them, they just want their baby to play. And I have to explain that this is Texas This is UIL athletics. This is big time. This is big time. Um, and there are places in Texas where, if you don't win enough games on the high school level,
Yep.
to the left,
Yes.
everything you own in a box to the left,
Yep.
it'll happen. All right, Coach. If you could be anything other than a coach, what would you be?
So I have two answers for this one.
I just looked at him. I just looked at him for the first time.
So a home organizer, and the reason why is because everything in my house is labeled, it's color coded, it's in a container. It started that way. It doesn't stay that way because my kids are like, Mom, like whatever you just did, forget all the work that you just put in. We're gonna trash the house anyway with all their toys and stuff. But it would be that. And then my second one is actually like a speaker, writer, podcaster. I actually have a podcast. It's not basketball related. But my husband and I do together. We have a podcast. So and I used to speak and write as well. So that was in my past life, I guess. But I'd probably, if I had to choose, go back to doing that if I wasn't a coach.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Coach. Over here on my wall, right? At some point, I'm gonna flip my office, and then my stuff will be in the background. But I was a contributing author to a book last year around this time.
Okay.
I also have another podcast that I do. It's called The Network with Michael Prejean, where we're trying to help people. Shameless plug. Mentally, spiritually, physically, and financially. So I think you should do it all.
Yeah.
Right now, let me say this. My oldest son will be 25 on Friday. My youngest son on Saturday. My youngest son will be 23 next Saturday. So I do have a little more time on my hands.
Yeah.
But I think you should, where you can squeeze that time in, I think you should definitely do it. What's the name of your podcast with your husband so that I make sure I can tap in?
Yeah, so it's called I'll Take a Glass podcast. So we did season 1 and we're recording season 2 right now. So it's been a lot of fun doing that with him. We don't talk, a whole lot about, we talk about sports pretty like often on it, but it's not sports based. We just pretty much are having conversations, trying to, create a space where people feel welcome to just be as authentic as possible. And in a sense, build relationships. So we're just like, hey, everybody's invited to the table. Grab your glass. Let's have some conversations. And that's what we do too, is like, after we have all of our coaches clinics or whatever, we're like, hey, let's all go hang together, get, talk, be in community with each other. And so we started that last year. And so we're recording season 2 right now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I have tried to get my wife to sit down, like, babe, come on, let's, and she's like, and she'll tell me, we should record something about this. And I'll be like, all right, come on, let's do it. No, I'm not ready to do it. I'm like, So, all right, that's awesome. So y'all make sure y'all catch Coach Rambo. Coaches Rambo.
Yeah.
Or would it be Coach Rambo's?
Coach Rambo's, maybe. That the kids still don't even know what to call us, because every time we hear Coach Rambo, we're both like turning, they're like, no, I'm talking to her, I'm talking to him. They don't even know what to say now. So I guess it's up for interpretation.
All right. So y'all make sure y'all check out their podcast. I'll Take a Glass. All right, Coach. We're almost to crunch time, but before we get to crunch time, who's got the tougher job, coaches or officials?
Coaches. I think in a way it's hard to compare the two because they both deal with different, pros and cons. But I definitely think coaches, because of all the stuff that we manage. I mean, especially girls coaches, like we're managing emotions and things that might be happening at home, and we're trying to manage keeping up with their grades, and we're also teaching and doing all the things. I'd probably say coaches. We're also dealing with relationships. We still deal. I know I've heard people say, officials have to deal with parents yelling at them or whatever that looks like. We do too. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got another question here in the chat. Have any of you become friends with a ref? So I do have a couple of friends who are officials. What about you, Coach?
I do. And actually my mom and my sister both ref too. I used to ref So yeah, I mean, we do have friends that are refs. A lot of people are coaches who they more so do it in the summer because, they're coaching during the season. Both my sister and my mom are coaches. But in the summer and stuff, they ref too. So.
Okay. And then there's another question. How do you handle that overzealous parent who yells at games? So I'll let you go first, and then I'll answer.
The best way I've seen this handled is one, kind of setting the standard beforehand, and everybody has those parent meetings at the start of the season, having conversations with parents and just setting the standard for etiquette, game etiquette, and then just having conversations with those parents if it becomes a problem. If it becomes too out of hand, at that point you got to get administrators involved that are at the game, and things like that. But I think also just kind of having those conversations. We've had a parent cussing and yelling in the stands. They were like, "Oh, you can't do that." So it was like, yeah, and it was cool. It was dead silent in the gym when she was doing it. So we were like, "Hey, okay." So we had to call her, have a conversation with her, and she's like, "All right, I won't do it anymore." But it happens. I think though, if you have a relationship with those parents and you've taken the time to invest in that as well and partner with them, then some of them are more willing to kind of, receive some feedback from you as well.
Yeah, same. We actually do a survey with the kids, right? And I shared that survey during our parent meeting. And so far, I've been doing it maybe 5 or 6 years. 0% of the kids, 0% of the kids want their parents to yell at the games.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to yell at anybody. Your
Yep.
kids are embarrassed when you yell at the ref. Okay. Your kids are embarrassed when you yell at the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They want you to cheer for them. They want you to cheer for their teammates, but they do not want you to be at the game yelling. All right, here we go, coach. Crunch time. Here we are. We're in crunch time. That means we're coming down to the end of this thing. So crunch time consists of 3, 2, and 1. So we'll start with the 3. This is 3 in the key. 3 things that all coaches need. What you got for us?
Patience, community, and a growth mindset. You have to have patience. It's just what it is. Like, kids are going to test your patience. There are going to be situations that test your patience. I also think it's important for us to show the kids like what it looks like to be composed in a situation that might, drive us to kind of be like, hey, we need to go. Like, so I try to be as patient as possible as I can and compose with them in stressful situations. I alluded to this earlier, but community. I don't know what kind of coach I would be if I didn't have the people surrounding me that I do, especially now, to help me. And not just with my kids. Like, it's not like a babysitting service, but just to take the time to invest in me as well and to give me feedback, to do things like you're doing, to share knowledge, connect people in this profession, because it can get lonely if you don't. And the other one's growth mindset. I believe this about anything in my life. I always want to be better at what I'm doing. I want to be a better wife, a better mom, a better coach, a better believer. Like, I want to have a growth mindset. And I think that's important, because every time you feel like, when you get to a place where you feel like you made it and all, it's hard to adjust with the times. And that's something that I definitely see, that in order to be successful, you got to start kind of adjusting and evaluating your environment and seeing what you can do to be better. So we ask that from our kids. I feel like we should expect the same from ourselves.
That's good. That's a really, really good list right there. That was 3 in the key. Let me recap that. 3 things all coaches need: patience, community, and a growth mindset. That's a great list, coach. All right, this brings us to the 2 shots. These are 2 of the foulest things that you've experienced as a coach. What you got for us?
Man, I had a ref get in my face in the middle of a game. The game was getting out of hand. And I finally said to him, because I don't like to talk to the refs. I'm real quiet, because I'm like, I feel like it's taking my attention away from my kids and me coaching them. And if they just called a foul, there's nothing I can do to get it back. So sometimes I'd be like,
Right.
Hey, what'd she do? But outside of that, I'm not screaming and wasting. I'm just going to coach them up. But I had a ref one time. One of my kids got hurt, and I was like, hey, that's happening because we're missing so many foul calls. Like, what are we doing? And he gets in my face and wags his finger in my face and is yelling at me. And it's I was like, man, you're testing my Jesus right now, buddy. Like I'm trying really hard to hold it together, but like, you're gonna have to get out of my face. And so that, honestly, that was one of the situations I was like, is this really happening right now? Like, what are we doing? So yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And then after the parents rallied behind me. So I said that about parents earlier, but you got parents who will ride for you. And that's really awesome, is to be a part of in the community too. And so afterward, they were riding for me, because they're like, no, we're not doing that. Like, you're not putting your finger in anybody's face. So that, it was cool to see how they rallied around me. But in the moment, I was like, man, I'm heated right now.
That's good. And yes, we do need to add that, y'all, the majority of our parents are great.
Yes,
we're talking
I agree with that.
We're talking about maybe 1%.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small number. Okay, so yeah, that official was out of line. What's your second thing, Coach?
After a game, I had a mom walk across the court screaming at me because her daughter didn't play. And she's yelling at me. The lights are out. There's parents everywhere. She's screaming at me, why didn't she play? Just going in. And I looked at her and I said, what we're not going to do is yell. But if you would like to have a conversation with me, I'm happy to meet with you. But I have a 24-hour rule. So please contact me and let me know what works best for you. And she just kept going. And I just had to keep repeating myself. And that's one of those moments where I can't get ignorant, where I needed my kids to see how I handled that situation appropriately. And at the end of the day, that's somebody's mom. And I know she's trying to I had to remind myself, like, she cares about her kid. And that's what's happening right now. And, but yeah, she walked straight across that court in my face. I was like, man, like, what's going on right now? But, she honestly, it was great, because afterwards she apologized and all that. So it worked out.
Yeah. And I'm glad you kept your cool. And I'm also glad she at least waited till after the game and not walked across at halftime.
I agree.
Because I've seen that happen before. Maybe I've experienced it. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Coach, this brings us to the last thing in the podcast. This is called And One. One thing. It can be anything that you want to share before we get out of here. So what do you have?
My husband told me this, and it has changed my mindset. Our kids only get 4 years with us at the high school level. We get the opportunity 4 years to decide what their high school experience is going to be like, especially, and they may only play, at the end of those 4 years, they may never play basketball again. And so I get to influence that, help them outside of basketball, and get to build that relationship with them, to hopefully invest in them so that they can become all that they desire to be when they leave us. And so I only get 4 years with kids to invest in them and change their lives and challenge them. And so I just think we can't take that opportunity for granted. As coaches, it's our responsibility to invest in those kids and not just say, okay, well, I'm gonna give you all the playing time. That's not, all there is to it. But we get that opportunity. And I just think we've got to make sure that every day we step into the building, we got to make sure we're going into it with the intent to change lives that day, because we get to do that every day. And that, man, what an honor.
Wow. What an honor. Coach, bullseye, on target, nail on the head, laser-like precision. You did it all right there. It is an honor for us. It is a calling for us in the things that we do. Listen, everybody, we just pulled back the curtain to give you a peek of what this amazing coach is doing. Listen, y'all, Billy Graham got it right. Coaches do what most people can't. I'm your host. My name is Michael Prejean. Most people call me Coach P. For Coach Taylor Rambo, thank you. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more thing, Coach. We got one more thing in here. We got one more comment. Okay, here we go. All right, check this out. You're up 20 in the fourth quarter. When does your gut tell you to pull the starters to not embarrass the other team? Or if you're down 20, when do you pull your starters and let your reserves play? So up 20, down 20. When are you pulling your starters? What you got?
For me, I'm probably letting them start the fourth quarter, play about a minute or two, and I'm pulling them out. I want to avoid injury, but also it also comes down to what do we have next, because I need to know what we need to work on and get better, but how can I also pull the rest of the team in? Because I want to make sure, and especially in those situations where kids might not play as much, where they get the opportunity to play and where they see the starters like cheering for them and encouraging them. But I'm probably letting them kind of kick us off the fourth quarter, and then we're gonna, I'm subbing them out, and then I'll probably sprinkle them in throughout the rest of the quarter. But I'm not playing all five together at that point. That's just my philosophy.
And that's up 20 and down 20.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Sorry. No, that's up 20. Down 20. We're going to the end. We're trying to come back. I mean, basketball is so, especially at full quarter. Basketball is a different game. Like you never know. I've seen games change with deep, people making, runs like crazy and coming back within 2 or 4. Like, so if we're down 20, we're still going in. We're trying to get where we're at. Maybe with the last 2 minutes, if we're still down 20, I'm like, all right, it's probably time to pull them out. But
yeah, the game can change on the high school level. The game can change so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So quickly. We had a game this year where I don't remember. I think we went, I think we were up 18 at halftime. We came back from halftime and we were only up 16. And I was upset. Okay, so I had an argument with the table. It didn't start as an argument,
Mm-hmm.
but it kind of got there, because I was like, hey, this isn't correct. And the thinking is it's their ball to start the half. Okay, they come out and make a 3 or get an and 1. Now it's a 13-point game. If we don't score and they score again, it's a 10 or 11-point game, and that is a close ball game.
Yeah.
And especially in a hostile gym, right? In a gym that we've lost in before, it doesn't matter. They're going to play hard. The fans sit right on top of the court. They say things to your kids,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making a big deal about this. This game is nowhere near over. So I didn't answer the question. But up 20 in the fourth quarter. Hopefully I was able to get some of the subs in the third quarter and just kind of start a rotation there. And then what I like to do is just kind of have like a little rotation there. If we're down 20 going into the fourth quarter, it depends on how we're playing. Like if we're stinking the joint up, sometimes I like to send a message to the starters, because they want to go back in the game and play. And I love the fact that they want to go back in the game and play. But sometimes I have to tell them, hey, listen, you had 24 minutes, so let me give somebody else a few minutes in here to see what we can do.
And you got to know your kids too.
Right. And you also have to know your kids. That's a great point. Somebody is FaceTiming me in the middle of this.
You're well known,
okay,
Coach.
there we
People
go.
trying to get in touch.
That is definitely not what it is. All right. Once again, y'all, we just pulled the curtain back to give you a peek of what the amazing Coach Taylor Rambo is doing. She's bringing her talents to Randall High School. And Randall High School is coming off a state appearance, okay? So probably going to have an opportunity to have some great success again this year. Listen, Billy Graham got it right. He's the one who said that coaches will impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in an entire lifetime. Listen, y'all, he got it because coaches do. This is my daughter calling me. Over the years as a coach, I've had many adopted daughters.
Hey, I know that feeling. I'm like, coaches, I can't afford any more of y'all. Y'all stop letting me adopt you.
Listen, like it's a bunch of them in college now, right? And I get the call one night it's like she's on the East Coast, so it's 11 o'clock here, so it's midnight there. I'm thinking something is wrong, right? So I answer the phone. I'm like, hello, what's going on? I need you to help me with this paper. I was like, if you don't get off my phone, if you don't get off my phone, listen, y'all, this has been the Coaches Co-op for Coach Taylor Rambo. I am Coach P. My government name is Michael Prejean, but most people know me as Coach P. So until the next time, y'all make sure y'all plug in with us here on the Coaches Co-op. Also, make sure you go and check out I'll Take a Glass with Coach Taylor Rambo and her husband. So until next time, y'all, we're out of here.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. My button's not working. There we go. Now we're done.